All right, everyone. Today is the big day. Yes, indeed. The Trump trial has officially begun. It's a last sort of round. The jury instructions to be issued later, the closing arguments made, and then you have the deliberation. Again, as before, all of these outcomes that you can possibly have with regards to this case end in absolute chaos. So, politically speaking, definitely it's a time to be alive. We're probably not going to get a verdict today. It's possible. I mean, the time is there. It sort of depends on how long the jury deliberates. A very, very short deliberation period, by the way, probably points to no hung jury or anything like that. He's either guilty or not guilty, and they've gone through the charges. The longer that it takes, if it does stretch into Thursday, the more likely you are to see a hung jury. And this could be on one or more charges, by the way. They could, for instance, agree he's guilty or not guilty of some of the charges, and then the other ones they can't figure out, and they're like, hey, judge, here's a letter. We can't decide. I have a feeling that that particular outcome is unlikely. I think that a hung jury on all the charges is the most likely. Acquittal or full guilt would be possible, and then we have to wait for Alvin Bragg because we don't know whether he would bother to retry the case. His ego says yes, strategically as a prosecutor, probably, or as DA rather, strategically speaking, probably the answer is no. We're not sure. Is Alvin Bragg's, and Judge Merchan, who's clearly biased, are their egos bigger than their understanding of the likelihood of an outcome in their favor should they choose to retry him if there's a hung jury? So let's say that he's acquitted on all charges. What you will see is a bunch of liberals rioting, saying that the case was thrown, Trump bought off the legal system, or something like that. Let's say he's found guilty. Well, then you have chaos. Even if you only have mild demonstrations in his favor, and it's in New York City, so you're not going to see quite as much. The legacy media will ignore the huge crowds of people convening elsewhere if that happens. Then you got to figure out how to punish him. Well, house arrest, suspended sentence, a fine. If you fine him, he's a multi-billionaire, so that doesn't matter. If you put him under house arrest, you're effectively giving him an Elba moment. If you put him in jail, you have to figure out what to do with the Secret Service. I don't even know how they're physically capable of punishing them. How the hell are they going to work it out? Now, supposedly Eric Adams says, well, it's okay. If he goes to Rikers, everything's fine. Yeah, there are so many problems with that you're not acknowledging. And they seem to be oblivious to this, actually, which is interesting. Some of these figures are malevolent, but others, they just appear oblivious. It's difficult to tell. I would say it's possible that we get a verdict today. We are on verdict watch as of this morning. We'll be waiting. Final instructions are given. The jury's told, okay, go ahead and make your decision. One thing we will not see, which has been brought up occasionally by the legacy media, but they're fucking fooling you when they talk about it, is the idea of a directed verdict. That would be the judge decides the prosecution's case is so flimsy that they friggin' throw the case out summarily and don't even bother to convene the jury. You also have a final motion for dismissal. That's not going to go through, of course. They will have jury deliberations. This is actually a good thing. You should not dismiss the case. There's no reason for dismissal. The fact that a reasonable person would see the so-called evidence of the prosecution and say it's bullshit does not mean that you want to dismiss the case. If you think that it's bullshit, then you want the jury to exonerate. You want to put the issue to rest so that there's no hint of misconduct. A jury of his peers has found him completely not guilty. That's the end of it. Goodbye, effectively. Alvin Bragg, by the way, regardless of outcome, is likely to write a book on the scenario. So, too, is Judge Merchan. He'll probably write a little bit of a quip about it, too. Maybe he'll self-publish it on Amazon. Verdict watch has begun. Yes, good times. Garden's growing fine. Weather's perfect. And then you have this crazy shit going on. I'm enjoying it, though, because I don't think that it will impact Trump's ability to win no matter what happens. If anything, him being found guilty will cause enough political chaos, chaotic environments where he thrives. He's called the chaos candidate for a reason, even though, in every other material sense, Biden's the one that's causing problems. I think it would help him, honestly. He'll be chuckling if he's found guilty. What the hell are they supposed to do? Put him in cuffs and drag him off into a jail cell? Oh boy, won't those campaign t-shirts sell really well. The fact is they bungled this case from day one anyway. Their star witness admitted to stealing from the Trump organization on the stand. That's not a good look. That was the star witness, countermanded by several of Trump's people as well. And then you have the bias of the court. You have Merchan blocking testimony from people that would be considered under normal circumstances to be material witnesses, to be experts in the field of whether this was even a crime to tell the truth. And that's the other shortcoming of the prosecution. You don't have any established prosecutorial documentation of this sort of thing even being illegal beyond speculative theory, which means that you've opened one can of worms by prosecuting a former president, and you're trying to open another can of worms by punishing him for something for which nobody's ever been punished before. The idea that you've influenced an election and violated the law, therefore felony charges, by falsifying business records is an untested theory. There has not been this issue has never been brought up in a court before. So you're going into entirely unknown grounds. That's why it's so hard to predict what the hell is going to happen. Because none of this has happened before. We have no precedent. There's never been a case where a former president's been prosecuted at all, let alone under an untested legal theory. It's sort of similar to the Jack Smith case, which keeps hitting snafu after snafu. They were trying to gag Trump and they failed in Cannon's court over there. I wonder why. Could it be because she's a Trump appointee? Yeah, it's interesting. He can get a fair trial in exactly one court in the fucking country, apparently. These cases are all over the place. They don't even make sense at this point half the time. I'll be carefully monitoring the news. While I do have other things that I have to do, live streams and eating sometimes. Occasionally I shower. I will be keeping a close eye on the news in order to get you, the details of whatever the verdict is as quickly as I can. My hope is that when we get the word that a verdict has been reached, I would like to live react to it. And whatever that verdict is, I'll still be chuckling, so, it'll be funny and it doesn't really matter to me. My expectation is probably I'll end up having to do a one-off immediately afterwards and won't be able to live stream it. It depends on which continent I'm in. It depends on what time the verdict comes in, etc., etc. So do stay tuned because we might get some real spicy takes, and it'll be very rapid fire. The news cycle is going to accelerate considerably the second that we get word that a verdict has been reached. We're going to be overwhelmed with information. You might as well get it from somebody who's going to be at least amusing and unbiased in this case. Legally speaking, of course. My political bias I wear on my sleeve. That's about all. Peace out.